parents had returned such gestures with enthusiasm, she hadn't been as comfortable. Even when she wasn't preoccupied with work, social skills weren't exactly her forte. She had no problem conversing about fabric textures and what rugs might suit what hardwood floor, but when it came to casual chit-chat or answering questions about herself, she always felt uneasy. She took the first turn right and banished the schoolyard memories of her English accent being mocked and the taunts about being a whinging pom. A graceful, historic building with columns appeared on her left. The old post office was a landmark she remembered, along with the red brick clock tower that she could see at the end of the street. Last winter, the branches of the Manchurian pears that ran along the footpaths had been bare. Now their summer green leaves waved in the breeze, as if in welcome. She slowed as she passed the vintage charity shop that she'd spent hours rummaging through. Bundilla also had a regular charity shop, with clothes and toys, but this one specialised in collectibles and bric-a-brac, with all proceeds going to the local hospital. Tucked away in a corner, she'd found a perfect duck-egg blue lamp for a living room she'd been styling. Not that she'd been decorating anything of late. It was an effort to even match her socks. The GPS indicated that she'd soon arrive at the real estate office, and she stopped to let two girls cross the road. The younger sister wore a white dress with pink and brown cowgirl boots, and she skipped as she pointed towards the park that formed a cool oasis beside the library. The spring in the child's step only magnified Grace's bone-deep weariness. She ignored the uncertainty that would cause her to second-guess her decision to leave the city, and instead focused on finding a parking space. While the street had plenty of empty car spots, the ones directly in front of the real estate office were occupied. A group of 3 men and 1 woman chatting outside the building were most likely the owners of the row of utes and 4-wheel drives. A tan and black kelpie wearing a blue collar with gold lettering sat beside a farmer who wore a wide-brimmed hat. She'd learnt the name of the working dog breed on her previous trip. Grace parked and left her car to the sound of deep masculine laughter as the local wearing a blue shirt hugged the brunette beside him. While Grace couldn't see their faces, the way the woman embraced him and then kept her arm around his waist spoke of affection and familiarity. Grace looked away, blanking out the long-buried yearning to mean something to someone. Her lackluster small talk wasn't the only reason why she was single. Her English parents had sacrificed everything to give her a better life in Australia. She'd worked late nights, weekends, and holidays to build her career, so she could provide them with everything they'd gone without. Loneliness had been a small price to pay for making the people she loved happy. She glanced at the man whose easy laughter had made her long to do something spontaneous and out of character, like take a day off or dance in the rain. His hair was a sun-streaked tawny brown, and his broad shoulders stretched the cotton of his blue shirt that hung loose over faded jeans. He half-turned, and she caught a glimpse of a tanned, chiselled profile. She again looked away. Just as well she'd come to Bundilla to rebuild her life and not to socialise. She was far from an expert, but men who looked as good as he did usually had an ego to match. Her best friend Aubrey was always telling her she'd catch more bees with honey than vinegar. Not that she was ever rude, but flattery, let alone flirting, wasn't something she'd ever fully understood or seen the point of. She'd once spent 2 hours of her life that she'd never get back listening to an investment banker run her through his share portfolio over dinner. She didn't have time to waste on shallow conversations, no matter how gorgeous a guy might be. The local with the felt hat grinned as he slapped the back of the man she'd heard laugh before striding away. The woman and her remaining 2 companions walked along the street before stopping outside a double-storey pub trimmed in grey wrought iron. The man in the blue shirt held the door open for the others to enter. Instead of following, he waited, as if giving the kelpie who had accompanied them time to decide if he would too head inside. As she drew closer, a waft of beer and an air-conditioned breeze washed over her. For a second she thought the local stared in her direction, but then the dog and the man disappeared into the bushranger. Thankful that she now had the footpath to herself, Grace lowered her tight